This is Real Estate Real Talk, a weekly podcast about real estate industry news that actually matters, hosted by some of the industry's leading agents. Here are this week's hosts.
Hello, welcome to the Real Estate Real Talk podcast. Our guest today is Kim Knapp. Kim, welcome. Will you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your real estate career, and your role as a CRS instructor?
My background in real estate is I moved from upstate New York to Florida 25 years ago. Thought I was going to finish a degree in counseling. Had an interesting experience moving away, had an interesting experience moving here. And I just got the bug and decided I wanted to get into real estate. And it turned out to be a fantastic decision. I had a historic first year and to lead to becoming a CRS instructor. I had an historic first year. I sold $6 million my first year, 25 years ago. If someone did that today, that would be amazing. I did it from working hard and I cared a lot. I had grit and heart. What I didn't have were all the skills I needed. And when the market crashed, I got my rear end handed to me. And I had 65 listings and 65 sellers going, "What are you going to do to sell my house?" And I'm like, I have no idea, right? And the next thing you know, everyone's got a short sale, and now people are crying and upset and losing things. And I thought, I don't want real estate anymore. I don't even want to do it. And I went to a CRS class, and I realized, I'm like, okay, there's a whole nother level of skills that I need to know. And I always loved teaching, and I did in other parts of my life. And so once I became a CRS, I thought, if I was going to be an instructor of anything, it's going to be this, because it was just that good and life-changing for me.
So, Kim, in your career in real estate so far, what are some things that you've seen change and evolve over the years as a real estate agent as well as an instructor?
You know, things are always changing. I mean, we kind of joke that, read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Somebody's always moving it. But, there's some things that stay the same. And I think one of the challenges, I'm not really an adopter of tech. I like tech. I like making, stuff happen. But I think that no matter what changes or what comes along, there's no secret pill for understanding people, building real relationships with people so that not only they come back to you, they think of you, they tell other people about you. And I think that a lot of agents out there are trying to find this magic shortcut. I sure hope that there's no magic shortcut for human relationships. I hope that never happens, right? There's handling that, and then the balance of how do I integrate innovation into streamlining the things I do or making some of the things I do easier or save time. So I think it's finding the balance, not getting too lost down either, I guess, lane, but understanding how the two work together.
So, Kim, I love that you touched on relationships, and we all know it's so important to have great relationships with our clients, but I like that you teach that it's important to have wonderful relationships with your working partners, your employees, everyone at your brokerages as well. And for your pre-conference course that you're teaching, which is titled Recruit, Retain, Repeat, Defining Your Value, Building Loyalty, and Driving Profitability, I love that you're focusing on the relationships with the other agents around you.
It's funny because when people move from being in sales and their customer being buyers and sellers, and they move into their customers being agents, somehow they forget everything they knew. And so now they're into, selling and cold calling and, all these things. And you can do that, I guess, when you're getting started. But just like we teach agents, once you begin to build your business, you need a better plan than that. And if we would just treat this just like we did our real estate business, some might be a farm area where it takes a little longer. And when they decide to move, they'll choose you. They may not be now business, right? They're an agent that'll be when business, it'll be that day when they go, you know what, I've had enough. I want to be their next best choice. Well, that's a longer term plan. And that's something you're doing over here, and then you have the more, now business of the people that you're talking to. But at the end of the day, you need to know what your value proposition is, why they should come with you, and that culture keeps people. Your value proposition will attract them. The idea that you have a culture might attract them, but you actually have to have it to keep them. And if you can do that, the agents who stay in this business, not many, 20% last over a couple of years. The people who stay with a brokerage a long time, people do not like to leave their friends, places that they're happy, that they feel supported. And everything doesn't become about commission. There's more than just money.
One thing I love that you said before, Kim, is that you've reframed recruiting into culture building rather than desk filling. So why is that so important when it comes to managing people?
Well, I think there's a variety of reasons. I have 100 agents, right? And we know what our culture is and who we are. My agents do most of the recruiting, honestly, for me because they meet someone and say, this person's going to be a big fit. Now, as a broker, you can't, just like houses, you got to continue to find a new listing. The house sells and then it goes and, you got to find another one. Agents that have been with you for a long time, they may be changing the season in their life. They used to sell at this level. Now they're like, I don't want to run that hard. They're selling here. Maybe a life change happens and they get out of the business or they move away, or maybe once in a while someone recruits one away. You have got to be building your pipeline just like you would in your real estate business. You have got to have a pipeline. The other thing that's great is when you have fresh people come in, they evangelize your people. Because sometimes if your people have been there a long time, they become like kids, that are young and they're growing up in your house and you're raising them. And you're like, well, when I move out, blah, 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 I'm going to do this and that, right? They've been with you so long, they kind of take a lot of it for granted, or they don't even know what's out there. Where these agents come from other places and they're like, oh my gosh, do you guys know, like, nobody else is doing this, or that is so cool that you have that. And they're like, oh yeah, right, exactly. You got to kind of sell them again, right? Recruiting your own people. But I think it's important for a brokerage. You've got to have fresh people coming in, and you need to have stuff in your pipeline. All affects your bottom line.
Another great piece of advice you've given is that retention is proactive, not reactive. And so what are some of the warning signs that leaders might often miss before an agent decides to disengage or leave?
Well, first of all, you need to have things going on that bring touch points so that you're engaging with your agents. You're spending time with them. Just like, I'm keep going back to this but I'm trying to make a point is, how did you do it with your customers? Did you send them personal notes? Did you do a customer event? Did you have coffee with them? So if you're not staying connected and in front of your people, sometimes it's going to be really hard to notice somebody's off, right? So if you're doing that, then you can notice, well, so-and-so hasn't come around for the last month. That's weird. I need to see what's going on. I need to check on them. But if you're out of touch, you're not going to be able to recognize that. And just know, people are calling my agents like every day. They're like so over it. It's like hired gun, speed calling stuff. So they're out there. People are recruiting. It's important. You don't want to operate out of fear. You want to operate out of abundance. You don't want to do things out of fear. But when you've got a plan that you can execute, just like, I didn't run my real estate business out of fear, and working with my customers and listing houses, I don't run my office out of fear either, but I run it knowing that there's value there. But you got to be doing things that you can actually interact and pay attention with your people to know when maybe things are off. And I'd say one other thing, I have a group I call my Vision Council, and I run stuff by them. They run stuff by me. And one of the things that I count on them for is if there's somebody that you feel like is like maybe there's something they're having a hard time, you don't have to tell me their business, but if you're like, hey, so-and-so's they just had 2 deals fall through. Let me know so that I can reach out to them, because I may not know that, because people just want to know that you care, right? They need value in all that too, but you got to do it all.
I love the Vision Council idea. With a brokerage your size, I'm sure it would be impossible to stay connected to every single agent you have. So aside from this Vision Council concept, are there other key tips or advice that you'd give to a leader of a large brokerage on how to stay connected with their staff?
Well, just like you business plan in real estate, I business plan in my office. So when I'm in November and I sit down with my Vision Council or other agents, what kind of things you want to be doing next year? I'm engage them at what kind of things do you want to be doing? And then I get them involved. Sometimes agents will do, like, they handhold their sellers and don't let them actually participate and be involved. Don't do that with your agents. Let them lead. Let them get involved. Oh, we should do a new construction caravan. There's so much new construction. And I'm like, well, there's a lot on the other side of the river too. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, well, hey, do you want to organize one with the builders? On this side? I'm like, hey, you want to organize one on the other side of the river with builders? We could do a little caravan. And they're like, yeah, I'll do it. Now they've taken ownership. They're proud of it. So find out things that they want to do, and then see how you can integrate that and see how you can give people opportunities to lead.
So we touched on that you're going to be teaching a course at Sell-a-bration in Dallas, Texas. Sell-a-bration is March 19th through 21st, and the course that you'll be teaching is March 19th. Could you give us, Kim, any insight into the course And also, what do you think the benefits are of attending courses in person versus online content?
Well, live is totally different. I mean, I do virtual teaching and I'm fine and enjoy doing it. But live is a totally different experience. And whether you're a small brokerage or a large brokerage, the people who come to this, or even like I have a large team, you're going to be inspired about things that you can do. I want you to love what you do. I want you to love the people that you're around and learn how to create that environment, what to happen when it's not working. And, right down to the nitty gritty of like, here's 20 ideas that you can do. That's what CRS is about. We're not about telling you something and then selling our book. We're going to give it to you on a silver platter. And then everybody in the room, there's a wealth of information in there, having opportunities to share, well, we did something like that, but it was really more like this. And I'm like, I'm going, okay, hold on. I want to write that down, because I'm stealing that idea. So you get that in a way live that you don't get when you're online. And then another piece of it that's important as someone who is responsible as a broker or a large team leader, is just being profitable. And so many are not. So many are not. So I want you to walk away. It's going to be 4 hours of a lot of information.
Oh, definitely, Kim. I think we're completely aligned that in-person courses are so valuable to you and to your brokerage and to your career.
Well, I was just going to say to what you just said, people will spend money buying leads, $1,000 here, $2,000 there. Let me buy your shiny object. This is the product. We're the product. We're the product we're selling, whether we're a brokerage or whether we're an agent. And when you can invest in improving the product, that is going to change your business. And then you can do it in an environment with other like-minded people that you can exchange business with. If it's not a CRS, I'm not sending it to them because I know someone that's that vested in their career that I trust them. And I'm not really sending CRS referrals to people I don't know. So these are people I've met at things like this. I'm like, okay, I really like that person. I trust them.
That's really great that you trust the CRS designation so much, and it's really an achievement that shows the depth of expertise that someone has. And I'm assuming that you encourage your agents at your own brokerage to get their CRS designation?
I have almost, which is really a crazy number, almost half the agents in my office are CRS designees, which is my size office. That's kind of unheard of. So I practice what I preach. They know that I think it's valuable, and now they think it's valuable. And we go to Sell-a-bration together sometimes. We're like road trip, and that's a good time. You don't have to be a broker to do that. I was doing that with them when I wasn't the broker. I was doing that when we were all, running together. And so that just another culture, relationship building.
I love that. Make it a fun road trip. Culture doesn't happen on accident, right? It's built. So what does intentional culture look like in practice?
I tell my agents who we are, right? Which instills in them who we are. We're not perfect, but we do the right thing because it's right. We want to know things and be educated. People look to us at a higher level of professionalism. And I preach that. And I'm going to tell you, I received that from the outside. And I tell them that. When I talked to the roofer the other day that everybody knows, he said, Kim, I work with a lot of real estate agents, but just so you know, like your people, like if I could just work with your people because they're the best. I had a broker send me a message the other day. I don't know what you do, but just love working with all of your people. They are always on time. So I tell them who we are. Then I equip them to be that. And they want to be that because that's our culture. Our culture is I push out in different things that we do. Like we do shout outs. We have a board that people's faces are laminated. They can put the laminated face on the board and thanks for opening that door for me. Thanks for helping me with that, whatever it was. And then we talk about it in the meetings. I got 100 people. But what I'm reinforcing is this is who we are. We help each other, right? So you need to decide who you are. You need to tell your people who you are, and then you need to walk it out. And when someone, I don't care how much they sell, is a cog, I don't care how much they sell. If they're blowing up the apple cart, they need to go. So you can't be in that fear like, and, a couple of years ago, we let a $100 million producer go. And the rest of the office after they were gone went, because that person was taking up so much oxygen and they didn't fit the culture. So you don't want to operate in that kind of fear if someone's not fitting in. It's not worth it.
That leads right into my next question. What do you do when there's a situation or a person that's tearing down the culture that you worked so hard to build?
Well, here's the thing. If you've got somebody like that, even if you like them, but it is causing distress amongst your other agents, So what are your choices? You either have to eliminate that situation. You're not mad. It's just, you know what? I want you to be successful. I want good things for you. I just right now, you're really not a good fit for my office. Or you can keep them and look the other way. And eventually the other people who are in your office go, you know what? This isn't a good fit for us anymore. And then you're left with the person that didn't fit your culture to start with. So you just have to be able to do, if you're going to manage people, you have to be able to do hard things. And also with that, be slower to bring people on. Does this person fit our culture? And so slow to bring them on, quick to let them go when it's not a good fit. And it doesn't have to be an ugly thing.
I think this brings up another question of another tool that could be useful. So personality profiles like the DISC profile, how would those factor into this awareness that you should have as a leader to help you recruit more effectively?
Well, I'd say, I wish that I would have been aware. I took a personality test with my husband 33 years ago at a marriage conference. I was aware they existed. I wish I was aware of how meaningful they are in life. So whether I'm a real estate agent or I'm a broker or I'm a mom or whatever I am, understand. And it's not like I need you to understand me. You'll do that when you understand personalities, you'll understand yourself. But it's more about how can I be more effective with people who are different than me. And we all filter everything through our own head and through how we see things. There be times where I'm thinking, are you questioning me? I just answered you. Why are you asking me again? And when I became to understand personalities, I'm realizing, no, this person is a C and they're very detailed and they want to make sure they know, sure I know, make sure we agree. And then, they're good. But I'm like moving like this. So I'm like, what, I am internalizing it in a way that's almost offense. Well, when you're recruiting people, you need to be able, or listings or buyers or whatever you're doing, how is this person wired? What do they need? If you've got a certain personality, they're looking around the office and all the fun stuff. And it's like, woo, this is great. You have other personalities like, what's the bottom line? It's understanding how best to effectively communicate with them. And that will help you in life. And we will touch on it enough that you'll be empowered to do something with it and probably inspired to know more.
Now, within your business, you have this practice of creating belonging through consistency. And why do these simple rhythms and systems, creating belonging, why do they mean so much? And why is that better than, a big, flashy initiative?
Well, you could do all kinds of flashy things, but at the end of the day, we're all still human. When I know that I can call someone, I know I can count on someone, I know someone is not tolerating me, but they're genuinely really trying to help me. That develops a real relationship as opposed to someone who threw a party and I went to it. The party's fun, but at the end of the day, if you've done the work of having the relationship. So I was at Florida Realtors in 2017 in the state's leadership academy. And they said, I didn't know they were going to do this. It was right before lunch. They go, when you come back from lunch, you have to give like a 3 or 5 minute talk on something and can have nothing to do with real estate. And all of us are like, I got to talk for 5 minutes about like what, And so I got up there and I said, I am going to talk about why Tom Knapp is so sexy. And then the room just is like, what? I said, hold on. And that's my husband. We've been married now 33 years. And I began to talk about how consistent he was. And I said, here's the thing about consistency. And I gave examples and some fun stories. I said, but when someone's consistent, I know I can rely on him. I know I can trust him, right? I know what to expect. It allows me to be more trusting, more vulnerable, all these things that opens up a lot of other things. So when your consistency is powerful, people may not say, wow, you're super consistent. I just wanted to let you know. Like that may not happen, but it does something to the inside of people who are around you who are like, I can really trust that person. I can rely on that person. So you got to make sure whatever it is you're doing, you're authentic because you won't be able to be consistent if you're not.
Oh, that sounds like such a fun speech. I wish that was recorded. I want to listen to it. But it really does get to the heart of what's really important. Consistency and trust, they're at the top of the list for everybody, I think. One thing that you've said before that I think is great is when you build raving fans, your agents become your best recruiters, right? So, how would you advise someone who's just starting out? Maybe they don't have their own team yet, but they would like one. How would they go out there and recruit for themselves and build their own brokerage?
First of all, you just have to start with one, and you have to be authentic and be yourself. And it's just like starting out new in real estate. You're going to have to put yourself out there. You're going to have to go to other agents' broker opens, their open houses that they're having on the weekend. You need to show up to mixers and events going on in your, association or area, or events the builders are having. You need to be where agents are. You got to be a real person and not be fake, because people will sniff you out just like they would if you didn't really like dogs, but you were trying to go to the Humane Society thing so you could meet some buyers and sellers. You need to be real, but you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to put yourself out there. And, once you get the one, and that's just being real, like, look, I'm building this brokerage. I am excited. I think it's going to be amazing. And I'm looking for somebody like you. Would you take a chance and come work with me? Would you do that? Because I think it'd be really great, right? Get that one, and then that one will help you with the next. And now you got two, and it's compounding. It's just like your real estate business. But you've got to be able to put yourself out there and understand, when you open a brokerage, now you're in the agent business.
So, one topic that we keep seeing, it keeps popping up, is comparing and contrasting working alone versus working with a team. So, do you have any comments on how being a part of a team has helped your business grow, and maybe the benefits and challenges of working in a team environment?
Okay, so let me answer that some different ways. So I ran a team for years. I ran a team of a variety of sizes. I did it all very, very wrong early on, lots of times in different forums, until, and honestly, as I got involved in CRS education, met other producers, and really learned how to do this on purpose. Like, everything you should do should probably be on purpose. But I didn't do it that way early on, and really learned how to run a functional team. For me, that's the only way to do it. Maybe just the volume we were doing. I want to have a life. I want to make a great living, but I also want to live a good life. And I don't want to spend all my time working. And I also didn't want like this roller coaster, up, down, up, down. And when you have a team, you can keep a lot of things in place. Let's fast forward to now. I have teams that work for me. I have agents that are, by themselves. They're just them. They work for me. I have, a team that has, that one has 5 or 6, not mega teams, but 5 or 6 agents on it. I have one, just maybe one buyer's agent and an admin person. So it just really depends on an individual agent's, goals. But I will say this: if you need support of some kind, whether you hire, if you want to grow your business, because you get to a lid, there's only so many hours in a day, right? So many hours in a day, there's only so much you can do. And you get to a point, whether it's a combination of broker support, or you're on a team and you got team leader support, or you hire support. If you want to compound what you're doing, you're going to need to be able to let some of that stuff off your plate that doesn't require that you do it.
So, one of the things that you teach is the cycle of building a great culture within your organization. What other skills do you teach courses on that our listeners should dive into and learn more about?
A couple of my favorite things to teach about. And I only have that, I have that passion and enthusiasm just of knowing, like, when I didn't know it, and then I did know it, and then I, got really good at it, what a difference it made in my life, right? When you have a higher level skill set, you can enjoy everything you're doing, at a higher level. So listings is one. I love listings. As a matter of fact, one of my agents the other day, well, not the other day, it was more like 4 or 5 months ago, got a little snarky with me, like, well, you haven't had to do this, or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I had a referral that I was giving somebody in my office, and I said, I'm going to give you this referral. Here's the deal. I'm going on the appointment. I'm negotiating, I'm going to do the consultation. I'm going to take care of the contract, the fee, all that negotiation, preparation. And then after that, and, I'm not asking for any more of regular referral. I'm just doing it. And it was a high-end home, and I got a high fee, and I got a high transaction fee. And then somebody made a comment, well, that was just a one-off. So the next time I had a referral, I said, okay, I'm going to do it again. So I did it again. And I'm like, okay, guys, you're just making an excuse. So I did it again. I'm like, no, this is a skill. And people will say, well, that doesn't work for me. I'm like, did you do it? Because it only works for the people who are doing it. It doesn't work if it's just in your, mind. So I really, really love opening that mind and helping people be successful in that way with listings, negotiating, mindset, understanding personalities, running a business. Those really being core things that were so life-changing for me. I'm going to pay
Kim, in your course, you connect recruiting and retention directly to profitability. So if leaders aren't doing this well, they're losing margin and they might not even know it. So can you help connect the dots for us with this?
Oh, well, that's not even a simple answer. We're going to talk about it. There's some different things. Brokerages and teams need to know what the cost is to have an agent. Like, let's start with that. What is the cost of that? And then what is the cost of bringing somebody on board and learning all your systems and all, the time and the effort or anything else that you do or incentivize them to come? And, clearly you want them to stay, right? You don't want that to be, I see some brokerages, we have a program here that is brokers we can buy and I can see agent movement and see what everybody, sold and what everybody does. And some of them are revolving doors. That's expensive. And then, actually understanding what is your cap? What is your company dollar? What are you making per agent? And what are you spending per agent? And how do you figure that out? And I'll just say this, and we'll talk about it in the class, but, one of the things we have integrity here is that there's no special deals. Everybody here knows they're on the same contract. You can start at different numbers of splits, but you're paying us the same money. You can pay us fast or you can pay us slow, but either way, it's the same money. And so there's integrity in that system because they don't feel like, well, somebody flexed or they gave them a special deal or they're special. But the other part of that is I'm real clear on what we're making because it's consistent across the board, right? So I can know if I have this many agents who are here and this many are cap every year, and I know what my margins are, I know what I'm making. But if I have, 8 people, you don't have to have 100 like me. You got 8 people and you got 8 different contracts. That's not so simple to do. So, but we'll get into it deeper. You need to come to the class.
So for our listeners today, what is one thing that they could walk away with today and implement and improve their business in 30 days?
If you could do anything, I would say just take a step back. And, in the book, Raving Fans, it says that customers will stay parked out front as long as they perceive value. So I would take a step back and say, what is the value? What's my value proposition that keeps people parked out front? And this isn't about like, I'm going to throw them a party on their birthday. You don't have to get crazy. It's not about that. But what do I do to support them in their business, to remind them that they matter, and also that they feel proud to be here? I think that's important too. Like, what does that look like? And if you're not doing it, say, okay, we have to eat your elephant one bite at a time. What are 3 things I could do in the next 30 days that would exemplify that? And then say, okay, now I'm ready for the next 30 days. But you have to start somewhere, start small, but take a step back and say, what am I doing that makes my agents proud to be here? What am I doing that makes them feel supported? And how am I supporting their business?
We're coming up pretty quick here on Sell-a-bration. And your course is a pre-conference class, which is the 19th, ahead of 2 days full of classes. So why do you think people should invest in the full package, come to the pre-conference courses, the nights out, everything to help them connect and advance their business?
Well, it's networking and the classes. Iron sharpens iron. This is a culture in my office. It's not a culture in a lot of offices, but it comes from my CRS, and that is, nobody owns the secrets to real estate, and we share. Whether you're in a class or a panel or a workshop, or you're in between sessions, or you're in a mixer, and you ask somebody, well, what do you use to, in your farm that's been really effective in the last year? What are 3 things that you've used AI for that you were like, so glad I learned that? Ask people. No one's going like, yeah, I'm not telling you, still my customers. People share. So whether it's in the class, in the hallway, or in a mixer, it's just generosity. That's what it is. And it's worth doing. And plus you'll build the relationship so they can send you referrals and you can send referrals and they actually close. So there's that.
So Kim, you've been to a lot of celebrations over the years. Are there any of your favorite memories that you'd love to share with our listeners?
So I'll give you a fond memory of celebration. I don't know what year. I made it was 16 years ago. Brian Copeland was the MC for a script battle. Sandra Nickel was one of the battlers. Alexis Bowen, I don't remember who else was there, but they had a script. It was a script off. I still have the book with the notes today. Pull it off the shelf. It's like probably all still relevant. And it was so fantastic to see them in real time, answer objections. And I have to say, something that's been very thrilling for me is to, since then, host script battles with CRS designees, to battle with and against Alexis Bolin. So that's been a fun thing. And going back, that was just fantastic. It was great.
That sounds amazing. You're getting more than just information. You're getting the experience, you're getting to learn from other people, and you get this connection.
Yeah. He used Disney characters. It was like the villains was like the one team, and then the heroes, the villains against the heroes, the imagery. Oh, they had a ball. It was fun.
That does sound like a blast. I wish I had been there. Kim, are there any last thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
I would just say no matter what you're doing, that investing in yourself and making yourself better, your skill set better, whatever that is, whether that's having coffee with a top producer in your market, attending a webinar, going to a class or a conference, that no one's arrived. I am always learning things. And I appreciate that. And, now when you get to a point, you say you've been doing this a long time, I know all that. No, we can always learn something. There's always a golden nugget that you can apply. And what we do for a living is solve problems. We don't sell real estate. Buyers buy, sell, sellers sell. We solve problems. And one more problem that you can solve, that's one more deal you can do. So just think about it. I'm obviously a lifelong learner. I love learning. And I'm available too. If you have questions, go on. Trust means business. Ask a question. Call me, ask a question. You can call anybody and ask them a question. They're happy to help you.
Well, this has been awesome, Kim. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your time and your insights. We're looking forward to seeing you at your pre-conference class at Sell-a-bration this year.
Thanks for listening to Real Estate Real Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, crs.com/realtalk, to your friends and colleagues. Please leave us a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast, and be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous episodes. This has been a Residential Real Estate Council production. Join us next time for another edition of Real Estate Real Talk.